In recent developments, the Israeli-Hamas conflict has taken a grave turn, as Israel has issued an evacuation order for 1.1 million residents in northern Gaza. This order follows a series of terrorist strikes by Hamas that tragically resulted in 1,300 casualties. The ongoing conflict has further exacerbated the already dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, raising concerns about imminent food shortages and a distressing death toll, which currently stands at a minimum of 1,900 people. Amidst the unrest, there are growing apprehensions about the escalation of violence and its potential consequences for the region. Additionally, there is speculation about the potential involvement of foreign actors, such as Russia, in facilitating negotiations for a ceasefire. This unfolding scenario underscores the pressing need to address the Israeli-Palestinian issue and underscores the importance of seeking a lasting, equitable solution. Between Israelis and Palestinians, there has been a long-running and complicated struggle over land, borders, security, refugees, and self-determination. This protracted battle has its origins in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when national Jewish and Arab groups first came into existence and the Ottoman Empire was beginning to lose its power. The United Nations plan to divide Palestine into Jewish and Arab states in 1947 marked a turning point in the conflict, leading to the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 and the Palestinian Nakba, which saw hundreds of thousands of Palestinians driven from their homes. Beyond the confines of the area itself, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is very significant. It is crucial to the Middle East, where it contributes to instability and affects the policy of surrounding Arab nations. The dispute is a serious issue in world diplomacy, and major players like the United States and the European Union are actively engaged in attempts to mediate. The impact of this diplomatic activity on world alliances and international relations is extensive. The conflict's effects on regional and global security are clear from the persistent bloodshed and security risks, such as terrorism, that affect Israel and the Palestinian territories. Furthermore, the war has a severe humanitarian effect on the lives of common Palestinians and Israelis, causing relocation, difficult economic conditions, and fatalities. International attention has been drawn to this humanitarian issue, which has led to significant assistance operations. Jerusalem, which is at the center of the dispute, is very significant from a religious standpoint, since it is sacred to Muslims, Jews, and Christians. As a result, Jerusalem serves as both a focal point for the conflict and a source of tensions between religions and of sensitive issues across the world. The Israeli-Palestinian issue has been exploited as a pretext or negotiating chip in regional disputes, making it a diplomatic obstacle that sometimes prevents more comprehensive peace attempts in the Middle East. Additionally, it has impacted wider geopolitical dynamics, having an effect on Israel's ties with its neighbors and on world power politics, notably the long-standing alliance between the United States and Israel. In conclusion, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a serious problem that affects more than just the parties directly involved. Its settlement is seen as essential for maintaining regional stability, global security, and peace. The historical history of the area, which is distinguished by its religious importance for Jews, Christians, and Muslims, may be used to determine the origins of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The historical and theological significance of the city of Jerusalem lies at the heart of its significance. In the past, the region now known as Historical Palestine has seen the rise and fall of several empires and civilizations, including the biblical kingdoms of Israel and Judah, Roman occupation, Byzantine dominance, Arab and Islamic caliphates, and Ottoman rule. As a result of these historical complexities, several religious and ethnic groups have a strong bond with the area, producing a complicated historical setting for the current conflict. Significant changes that occurred in the 20th century helped to create the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as we know it today. The British government's 1917 Balfour Declaration, which was released during World War I, supported the creation of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. By supporting Jewish hopes for a homeland in the area, this proclamation signaled a turning point. The League of Nations gave Britain the authority to rule Palestine from 1920 until 1948 after World War I. Tensions between the Jewish and Arab populations were brought on during this time by a surge in Jewish immigration, which was overseen by the British Mandate for Palestine. The partition of Palestine into Jewish and Arab governments with international administration of Jerusalem was advocated by the UN in 1947. Even though the UN authorized this proposal, Arab nations and Palestinians opposed it because they believed it violated their rights and their land. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 sparked a war and waves of Palestinian displacement that are collectively referred to as the Palestinian Nakba, or catastrophe. The Nakba's effects are still felt by Palestinians today, and this tragedy served as a turning point in the war. These historical occurrences served as the impetus for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, spawning a complex web of political, religious, and historical elements that still influence the dynamics of the area and diplomatic attempts today. Territorial conflicts are at the heart of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The main flashpoints of conflict are the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. Both Israelis and Palestinians believe that the West Bank, which Israel has occupied since 1967, will be a component of their future governments. Under Israeli control, the Gaza Strip is a heavily populated region that the Palestinians also want for a future state. The status of East Jerusalem is quite problematic, since Israel claims authority over the whole city, while the Palestinians want to make it the capital of their future state. A major worry is the Palestinian refugee problem. Many Palestinians were uprooted during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War and the 1967 Six-Day War, and today the descendants of those people still fight for the right to return to the places they left or were forced from. This problem continues to be a major barrier to any prospective peace deal. For Jews, Christians, and Muslims, Jerusalem has profound religious importance, making its position a crucial point of contention. While the Palestinians want to make East Jerusalem the capital of their future state, Israel claims Jerusalem as its undivided capital. Negotiations continue to hit a roadblock because of the status of Jerusalem. Security is of utmost importance to all parties. Terrorism poses hazards to Israel, notably in the form of rocket assaults from organizations like Hamas in Gaza. Israel has imposed blockades on Gaza as a result of the fighting, alleging security reasons. Due to Israeli military actions, settlement construction, and limitations on their freedom of movement, Palestinians also have security issues. The topic of Israeli settlement in the West Bank is divisive. These communities, which are deemed unlawful by international law, have grown over time, making the idea of a Palestinian state that is entirely contiguous increasingly difficult. Construction and settlement growth have caused conflict and are considered as a key roadblock to peace. An important turning point in the war was the Arab-Israeli War of 1948, sometimes referred to as the War of Independence. It signaled the founding of the State of Israel and led to the eviction of tens of thousands of Palestinians, causing long-standing resentments and refugee concerns. The 1967 Six-Day War had far-reaching effects. Israel's occupation of the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem after its military conquest. This occupation exacerbated the war and continues to be a distinguishing feature of it. The Yom Kippur War, which Egypt and Syria started, caused a brief change in the status quo. Despite the fact that the war did not end the conflict, diplomatic attempts such as the Camp David Accords, which resulted in a peace treaty between Egypt and Israel but did not address the larger Israeli-Palestinian problem, were made in response to the war. During the First Intifada, also known as the Palestinian Uprising, there were several demonstrations and acts of civil disobedience against Israeli control. It generated worldwide interest, brought the Palestinian problem to the fore, and finally prepared the way for the Oslo Accords. The Oslo Accords were a set of accords that established the Palestinian Authority and provided a foundation for a two-state settlement between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO. Although it first inspired optimism for peace, later events and conflicts have left many fundamental concerns unaddressed. Violence and hostility increased during the Second Intifada. Significant losses and suffering were experienced by all sides as a consequence of suicide bombings, Israeli military invasions, and rising tensions. This time frame made peace efforts much more difficult. The Gaza Wars were a series of battles in the Gaza Strip that included protracted military operations, aerial bombardments, and ground assaults. The significant human casualty and devastation prompted worldwide outrage and highlighted the region's continuous strife. Numerous peace attempts, including at the Annapolis Conference in 2007, the Taba discussions, and the Camp David Summit in 2000, sought to resolve the conflict's fundamental causes. The intricacy of the difficulties involved in establishing long-term peace in the area is shown by the fact that, although some made headway, none resulted in a complete and final conclusion. During the 1948 Arab-Israeli War and the 1967 Six-Day War, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict forced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to flee their homes. The descendants of these exiles have long fought for the right to return to their ancestral homes, which has complicated and persisted for a long time. Palestinian refugees are struggling to find homes, access to essential services, and political rights as a result of the continued displacement, which has created a prolonged humanitarian catastrophe. Due to a number of causes, including the Israeli blockade, ongoing fighting, and political rift between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, the Gaza Strip, one of the conflict's main sites, has endured appalling living conditions. The blockade has made it difficult for people and commodities to move around, which has resulted in financial hardship, a lack of basic supplies, and a significant reliance on foreign help. Gazans have had poor access to clean water, frequent power outages, and few economic possibilities, creating an unstable and difficult environment. Both Palestinians and Israelis have suffered severe economic effects as a result of the ongoing war. Due to the limitations and uncertainties of the war, Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza have experienced economic hardship, high unemployment rates, and restricted access to markets and natural resources. On the Israeli side, continuous occupation and political unrest have also had an impact on the nation's economic climate, as have the frequent security threats and military confrontations that have resulted in significant defense spending. The necessity for a thorough and long-lasting conflict settlement that addresses the economic well-being of both Israelis and Palestinians is further highlighted by these socio-economic issues. The persistent distrust between Israelis and Palestinians has been a major obstacle to peacemaking. A severe lack of trust has been exacerbated by long-standing grievances, ongoing cycles of bloodshed, and the failure of previous peace initiatives. Due to their suspicion of one another and the likelihood of a durable peace, both parties find it difficult to have meaningful discussions and reach agreements. The division of the Israeli and Palestinian political camps has made it more difficult to find a solution. The West Bank, which is ruled by Fatah and the Palestinian Authority, and the Gaza Strip, which is under the leadership of Hamas, represent the two halves of the Palestinian political landscape. This split has made it difficult for the Palestinians to represent a single viewpoint in discussions. The difficulty of discussions is increased on the Israeli side by coalition politics and shifting leadership, which may make it challenging to maintain a consistent approach to peace attempts. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict still has significant historical, political, and humanitarian ramifications, and is very complicated. Beyond the local area, it has implications for international politics and security. The conflict's persistent character emphasizes the necessity for ongoing involvement and diplomacy to reach a lasting resolution. The Israeli-Palestinian problem must be resolved in a fair and reasonable manner. Such a settlement needs to take into account the justifiable complaints and ambitions of both Israelis and Palestinians, guaranteeing everyone's safety, autonomy, and human rights. Achieving peace in the area is crucial for the parties directly engaged, as well as a representation of the possibility of resolving conflicts in a larger global context, underscoring the need of ongoing efforts to do so. That is all for this video. We'll be back soon with another informative video. Don't forget to like and share this video. To keep exploring ancient history together, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time!